Hello guys, in this video we'll build our own Clipboard Manager or Clippy with Tauri 2.0 using Rust. Now there are multiple purposes of this video. You may have come across scenarios when we copy certain text and we override by mistake, or we forget to paste the text, and by the time we realize we no longer have access to the initial copied text. For such case, we need Clippy or a Clipboard Manager that gives us history of what we copied, so we can literally copy any time without the concern of losing certain text which are pretty much gone by the time we realize. Now there are multiple such tools or applications which can do it. Some OS provide it just out of the box, or there are tools or applications available online which we can download. But the purpose here is to create our own desktop application which we then can customize based on our needs, based on how we want it to look like, or what features it could support. So that's the initial purpose of this video. Additionally, another purpose is to work with Tauri channels. Now, till now in my videos related to Tauri or all the projects that we have built with Tauri, we have been using Tauri commands where we update the UI by invoking some commands, but we haven't worked with events or channels. Now, events we'll cover in some other videos, but today we'll focus on Tauri channels. Now, channels are designed to help you update your UI from Rust in basically invoking certain events or passing on certain data. Now, events are for basically cases like push notification, but when you want to pass data reliably, you should be using channels. Channels also help you do bidirectional communication, so you can invoke the basically from UI to Rust and Rust to UI, which we'll see in a minute. So we'll be using Tauri channels in this video to send the text which has been recently copied to the clipboard to our UI, so it show in the history. So without further ado, let's begin and let's dive into it. Now, as we start, there is a link to my Discord in description. We do tons of discussions there, and I do share lots of tips and tricks related to Rust and programming a life in general, so make sure you join it. Now, first of all, let's add a project, so make sure you are in a clean directory. Open the terminal. Now, as always in my videos, I'll be using yarn as the package manager here, so we'll just do yarn create Tauri app. Now let's give it a name, so maybe let's call it Clippy, and Clippy, TypeScript and JavaScript for the front end, and yarn as the package manager, React as the front end, and TypeScript as the UI flavor. So we select it and we have our project ready. Now let's just move to Clippy, and now here we'll add our CLI, so Tauri apps CLI. Now we have our CLI installed, we have our project ready. Now first of all, let's add the dependencies that we need. So move to cargo toml file. Now the dependency that we need is AR-bolt to access clipboard. So make sure to add the latest version depending on when you are watching this video. So once the dependency is added, make sure you are able to successfully build the project. Then move to src, and here let's remove the greet command and let's add our own commands. Now before we add our commands, just to give you guys an overview, we'll store our history to a file. What we'll do is loop through, and every second we'll check on the clipboard. If the latest is not equal to what we have already in the file, then we'll update the file and send out an event through the channels to our front end to update the UI as well. And we'll write to file to store the history and show it to the user whenever they want to fetch more or see the history. And we can also wipe the history, so we'll build all the commands for that. So first of all, move to the project, and here in the root of your project add a cache directory. Now we can also add cache inside our src Tauri, but all this folder is under hot reloading. So whenever you write to the file, it will just restart your application, which is not something that we want. So I'm keeping this cache directory outside. Now here we'll add a path, and what we'll do is and str, and the path is your users and the name of the user, let's say desktop for me, and then our project, so Clipboard Manager and Clippy, and then we have is, let's say, the file name, so we'll just name it as clipboard history.json, and for the history we'll add a struct. We'll name this as clipboard history, and items as vector of string, and derive, serialize, and deserialize. Now let's add our commands. So the first command that we have is wipe all, to clear all the history, and we'll just do is remove file from standard file system or FS, and we'll just pass our path, and this is our first story command. So we copy this and add this in handler. Similarly, we have another Tauri command which is just going to do some copy operation for us. So we'll just do is copy whatever data and string, and since we are interacting with clipboard here, so we'll use the same to copy as well. Let mutable clipboard, and clipboard from arboard, and clipboard.setText and data. So we have copy as well. Now the next one that we add is a helper function to load history. So load history, and this returns you a result of clipboard history or standard IO error. And what we do is let file, we just do file open, pass the path, and we add a reader. It's a buff reader. New, pass the file, and then history is equals to JSON from reader. We pass the reader and OK of history. That's how we load our history. Now similarly, we'll add a save history. So you can add helpers in a separate file as well, but since the application is pretty small, so I'll just keep everything here in the librs, and we get clipboard history, result of unit or standard error, and let file is equals to open options, because we want to append. So create as true, write if file doesn't exist, then create it, truncate as true, and open path. Actually, we don't want to append here because we have our JSON. So what we do is let writer buff writer and new file and JSON to writer pretty, and we pass the writer, we pass the history, and we return OK of unit. So that's another helper that we need. Now once we have all our helpers that we require, we'll add a command for filter, which is load last n entries. So we'll give a filter to our user on UI, and whatever they want, like let's say 5, 10, 15, they can just see all those entries. So if let OK history, load history, if we get OK for that, we'll just do is history dot items dot into iter, because latest one will be at last, so we want to reverse and tech n and collect. But if that's not the case, then we'll just return an empty vector. So this is a command for filter, which will add on our UI. Now the last command that we have is init, which will basically be called when we open our UI, and then it will loop through and forever be checking our clipboard every second or every 2 seconds, 5 seconds, whatever you want to configure it on. And once we have our something on the clipboard, it will just write to the file and raise out an event. So for the init command, we'll just pass, let's say, on event and channel from Tauri IPC channel, and whatever you want to pass through the channel. Now for me, I'll be passing a string, but if you want to pass certain JSON, then you can. So as you can see, we have IPC channel, and here what we'll do is spawn, since it's a thing that keeps on running, move, and here we'll just do is let mutable clipboard new and unwrap. Then we'll just loop through, and what we'll do is if let OK data, if we get something from the clipboard, which is just as simple as clipboard.getText. There is also clipboard.get image, but for now I'll just focus on get text. You guys can try around get image as well. So get text, and what we'll do is let mutable history, we'll just load history dot unwrap, or else if we don't get it, then we'll just add clipboard history items as an empty vector. So we get the history, and then we'll just do is if history dot items dot last dot map, and last not equals to current data that we have, then we'll just do unwrap or true, and we'll just do is history dot items dot push, and what we'll push is data dot clone. Then we'll just save the history by calling save history, and once we save the history, we'll just do is on event dot send, and we'll just send our data using the event. So that's how we'll pass our data, and this will just go ahead and send out the event. So that's literally all that we need to do in init. And once we are outside here, we'll just do in our loop is called sleep duration from seconds. So let's say I want to check my my clipboard every 2 seconds. You want to do it 1 second or whatever to you. So using channels, as you guys can see, we can pass our data, and what will happen is now once we have something written in the file, immediately event will be raised with the new data as well to the front end. So front end will be automatically updated instead of calling or polling our backend. Now this is pretty useful. We'll be using down the line in different tutorials that I'll add on my channel, but for now we'll just keep init as it is. So these are all the commands that we need to add, and now we'll move to our app.tsx where we'll add our UI, and we'll also learn how can we consume channels. Previously we have only consumed like we have just invoked the commands, as you guys can see, something like this. So let's remove this. Now here we'll add FC, so functional component app react FC, and import react from react, and right here we'll just export default app. Now let's add a few states that we need. So cons clipboard items set clipboard items and use state string and so string and initialize to empty array. Then we have const filter set filter and use state, then number, and let's say initially number set to 5, will initially fetch 5, status as set status, use state, and string initial status would be, let's say, loading. And then we have is to fetch clipboard history, fetch clipboard history async and n as the number, so try, and const items string await invoke, and we want to invoke is load last and entries, and actually we need to pass as the name, and n as the argument. Then whatever the items we'll get, we'll just set to clipboard items, and we'll set the status if items dot length is greater than 0, then we set to nothing, otherwise we set no clipboard history found, so nothing on the clipboard copied yet. Okay, and if that's not the case and we ended up running into some exception or error, then we want to console log the error fetching clipboard history, and we want to set the error, and we want to set the status as failed to load clipboard history. So that's for our fetch clipboard history. Now similarly we'll add a copy to clipboard, which will be a button, a command that will give to our user to copy any history anytime, async and data as string. So again try, and here we'll just do await invoke copy command and argument as data, and then catch error saying console log error copying to clipboard, and once we have copy to clipboard we have wipe all command as well. So let's copy the template and change it to wipe all clipboard history and just async, and here we do is invoke wipe all and we don't pass any arguments. So that's for error wiping clipboard. So we have wipe all, and then we'll add a use effect to initialize and then check for updates. So use effect, and we'll just do is const initialize clipboard async, and we'll just do try. So const on event, and here we'll consume our channel. Now, as I explained in the start, channels are bidirectional, so you can receive and send events as well. So here we'll just receive, we'll just do on event on message, and we'll get some message which is basically some update in the clipboard. Then we'll just do is console log clipboard updated. I'm just adding these for debugging purposes. So set clipboard items, then what we'll do is previous items, and we'll do is new message and previous items. So that would be our on event, and then we'll just do is await invoke init and pass on event. And if we run in any issues, then we'll just console log saying, or console error saying error initializing clipboard monitoring, and we have our error. And then we'll just do is initialize clipboard at the start and fetch clipboard history, pass the filter. So just to update our UI initially, and once we have is any logic to clipboard clean up the clipboard monitoring or unlisten, we'll just add it here. But for now we'll just do is console log cleaning up on unmount. So here what we'll do is pass the filter. So these are all the commands or all the events that we have to process. Now let's add the UI part. Now here we'll add return and div class name as app, basically the outer layer or initial app. And then we want to add a header with class name as app header, and then an h1 saying clippy, and a p tag saying manage your clipboard history with ease. And after header we'll add a main saying class name as app main, and inside we have a div with class name as controls, and another div with class name as filter container. So we'll just do filter container, and then here we'll just do a label and HTML for filter and show last, and then we'll just add a select, and here in our select we'll add id as filter, value as filter, and on change we want to update the state, so we'll just do e set filter e dot target dot value, and then let's add our options. So here we'll just add option 5, similarly option, let's say 10, 20, 50, so 10, 20, 50, and we want to set the value as 5. Similarly set the value as 10, similarly set the value as 20, and similarly set the value as 50. And here we'll just convert our target to a number, so just wrap in a number, and we have our select, and after that we'll just add button with class name as wipe button, and on click we just want to call wipe the history, and we want to name this button as wipe all. So now here we have some conditional UI. So let's say we have the status set, then we want to display a p tag with class name as status, and we want to set up the status. Now similarly we will have a ul, which is item list for clipboard, and we'll name this as clipboard list. Now here we'll just iterate through the items, so clipboard items dot map and item index, and here we want to add li and class name as clipboard list, and then we'll add a span with class name as item text, and set the item, and again we'll have a button and class name as copy button, and on click we want to copy to clipboard with item, and name this button as copy. So index, we have to pass the index of what we want to copy, actually the item, and index will set as the key of the list. So that's all that we need on our UI, literally everything. We need buttons, we need filter, we have clipboard, we have events, we have commands, we are covering literally everything. Now move to your CSS, but let's add it here. Now move to your CSS and let's remove it. So I just paused and added all of this CSS, and I'll give you guys this CSS in the description to my Git. You guys can copy, or you can pause and write along with me as I scroll the CSS. It's pretty straightforward, and I just don't like to waste time in my videos to focus on CSS because it's pretty basic stuff, and it depends on how you want to again design your component. So just add the status, the CSS, And with everything ready, with our component ready, we'll just go ahead and build and run our application for the first time. So just open your terminal, and here we'll ensure to move to Clippy. So we'll move to Clippy, and we'll just do is yarn Tauri dev. So here you go, the first look of our application, Clipboard or Clipboard Manager, whatever you want to call it. We have our nice little filter, the wipe all command, and the latest thing that we have copied on our clipboard, and a copy button, so we can literally copy this again anytime. Now let's say I just do some more copy on the other side, and as you can see, it's immediately reflected on our UI as I'm copying different parts of our code or even different things from our code. So it keeps on basically updating and showing us what we are copying. And let's say I copy more stuff from browser or from any other window on my machine, anywhere, any place. As you can see, it now shows me my Twitter and shows me our Discord, so you guys can join me on my Discord as well. And then whenever we need is we just go here, and let's say I want to copy this, I can copy this, and since I copied this, so it appears on the clipboard on the top as well. And then we can just go ahead and we can set whatever we want to see. Like let's say I want to see only 5. As you can see, I can only see 5 entries. You can see more, so here you go, more entries. Similarly, I can wipe all, and it will only show me the latest, because again, after wiping, the latest still there. So that's for the Clippy or Clipboard Manager that we have. Runs very smoothly, nice and clean. Now that's it for this video, guys. I hope you guys understood and learned something new. What I would want you guys is to integrate images to this, or even build other commands, and let me know in the comments what do you guys feel about this. I'll catch you guys in the next video. Thank you.